I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. Runia the Witch is here. Hi.
Hello there.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Well, hello. I am Runia the Witch. I am a human changeling witch from the world of Galarian. I like to talk about TTRPGs. I love to talk about lore, and I play a variety of games both by myself and with others. I'm also a member of the Elysian Legends, a VTuber group that supports trans streamers and their allies.
Excellent. I'm glad that that's there. How long has that been around? Do you know?
Gosh, not put a solid number on it yet. I think maybe the better part of a year so far. It has been slowly trying to get up off the ground. We're at least at the point where we try to support one another publicly.
That's good. That's excellent. I'm glad that that's out there. What are you wanting to do with that group?
We're hoping to, for the most part, actively support and promote fellow trans streamers, and to basically try to, how can I put it? Help defend them against other, from people that want to try to harass them and whatnot. Give them a safe space kind of deal.
Well, that's good, because even though I think that the VTuber, the entire concept of VTubing should be absolutely embracing toward trans folks, that there obviously are going to be people who are just there to, cause problems from start to finish. I'm glad you've got that out there, and I hope that it continues and you get more people involved in it. And it's
plus, I believe the other part of it was that we didn't see too many VTuber groups that actually had trans people in them, or at least front and center.
I think about it. I haven't either. Yeah, I know there's groups of pockets of folks. I don't think they call themselves, official groups or anything, but a group that says, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anything that provides that sort of support and people who are on different levels of their VTubing journey and life journey, for that matter. That is absolutely positive, and I'm glad you got that out there for them, and we'll promote it too, if that's okay. Get it out there for everybody to be a part of. When did you get started in content creating?
Gosh, I think it was around, 2023, and I had just moved into a new state.
Yeah.
And I was kind of struggling for work at the time, plus a variety of other things were happening.
Yeah, life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life in general was just happening.
Stupid life getting in the way of everything.
Yeah. And at the time I was earning money just doing things like DoorDash and whatnot. And at some point I got in my head that maybe I should try a bit of VTubing, see if it goes anywhere, see if that can be an additional source of money. But otherwise, I was largely inspired by a few other VTubers that were talking about their special interests, and I was like, well, I love tabletop.
Yeah.
And like tabletop RPGs particularly.
Right.
And I kind of want to share that passion. I want to kind of give back to the community that has done a lot for me, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, why not? And the original idea for me was that I see a lot of people talking about mechanics and whatnot, and I was like, you know what? I just kind of want to explore the worlds that a lot of these role-playing games, center themselves around.
Yeah. You want to dig into the, as you mentioned, you're interested in the lore. That's what you enjoy. Yeah. in the world building. Really, that's a part of it, I would imagine. Um,
That too, yes.
yeah, it's not quite the same, but in order to have a lore, you have to build a world with it usually.
Hmm.
And and when you're talking completely fantasy type material, um, automatically it's leaning into somebody's creativity,
Hmm.
and it has to be to start with, and then how fully they're able to flesh that out into being able to create lore is pretty amazing. I can't do that. I wish I had that
You
type of
might be
talent, but
surprised.
the
You, yeah, you might be surprised at what you can do.
well, I probably would be, but at this age, I'll be surprised if I just am able to walk okay the next morning. I take my little blessings as they come at this point in life. Um, so when you got started with the VTubing and you started getting an audience and people coming back and enjoying uh, being with you on your stream, how did that make you feel?
Gosh, it was such a gradual thing.
Mm,
And over time, it's been kind of a, hmm, how could I say it? It's a feeling I really can't probably cannot replicate or want to ever give up.
hmm
Even though I know that at some points I may have to call it quits.
Well,
Like
it's
this sort of thing doesn't has can't really last forever, but
yeah,
like in this moment, I really do want to enjoy it every chance I get to do it.
that's cool. That's
And oh
great.
boy, like
And having is it sort of kind of a validating type of thing or a wind beneath your wings type moment when you get somebody that you recognize from a previous stream coming back?
yeah, it definitely feels. Hmm, it does feel validating. It does, give me a lot of strength, and it makes me smile and whatnot. Uh, though there are a few jokers that in my chat, to say the least.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, that's when you get any type of group of folks, you're gonna have a few
Hmm.
that. But
Hmm.
yeah, are you in chat on a good working basis at this point?
Oh,
Especially
absolutely.
building it as it sounds like it's really built organically, and you haven't had to go,
Mhm.
do all sorts of you know showy things to build that chat. It probably is a really good base.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, with the kind of content I tend to pull out, I don't really get to, how can I put it, get involved in big, particularly flashy things. Like sometimes I'll grab something that looks really cool,
Hmm
like Sandland,
hmm
which I had a lot of fun with.
And what is
But
Sandland about?
ooh, that
Sand.
is a that is an Akira Toriyama joint that was a manga, very short, and then got an anime recently and a video game. And it's largely just vehicle combat. It's like
Ooh, like
in a post-apocalyptic world. It's like,
is it like Mad Max type stuff?
mm, I wouldn't quite say Mad Max, but probably in that area
Mm.
for the most part. It's like,
So do you start with a vehicle, or do you find it along the way and you have to scavenge or that type of thing?
uh, like you start off in a town and then you do get hold of a vehicle and it's just a car
Uh huh.
for the most part, and you're trying to get from point A to point B. It's like you do have moments where you get to do combat outside of a vehicle. It's like,
Cool.
but eventually, the next big, the car breaks down, and the next big thing you end up with is a tank, and things just
Ooh.
go from there.
Yeah, that's a pretty big escalation there.
Mhm. Yeah, and there are a variety of vehicles as well,
Yeah.
from motorcycles to walkers to hover vehicles and whatnot. It's like,
Walkers. Uh,
mhm.
yeah. Well, I had to use a walker for a while time. I called my walker Texas Ranger, and it got its name because it actually killed a wasp once. And I'm like, hey, out there protecting me. I like that. Um, the so that type of game, I think you probably uh, did you enjoy it for the backstory or the gameplay or what or both?
I did very much enjoy the world that it was set in. Like, it was the first time I had touched anything that was Sandland.
Mm.
Like, I did eventually, upon playing a bit of it, just immediately went over to read the manga and devoured that immediately. And then I played the game, and it's like, oh, there's even more story to this than the manga. And I'm like, okay, I did not expect it to continue after the ending.
Yeah, but by then you were all in.
Yeah, I was very much all in. Uh,
The
but
book,
the mechanics definitely were very, very good.
yeah.
And there were times that especially in the motorcycle, there were times that I would do something and I'm like, okay, that was incredibly cinematic. And I can't believe I pulled that off.
Yeah, like, whoa, I'm still alive. Oh, cool. That's great. Now, with a game like that, when you see a game and you don't, you haven't played it yet, does what attracts you to the game, given the fact that you're big on the lore of a certain type of thing? What is the thing that attracts you to it, the game?
Typically, I I tend to go for games that try to emphasize on some level exploration and interactivity
Mm,
with the environment that you're being a part of.
yeah, yeah, and
And because the more I get to interact with an area, the more I like, well, get to understand the world and whatnot. I don't necessarily enjoy being lore dumped, though. Like, there are some exceptions, like Earth Defense Force, where a lot of lore comes in through radio chatter
yeah.
that is going on as you're fighting, and I'm just like, okay, that is actually kind of cool. But otherwise, uh, role playing games sometimes, the turn based ones, like especially like hmm, what would I call this? It's like, which ones would I think of?
Um,
Um,
and
hmm,
once it starts you off with basically you have to download the novels in order to get through to start. Um, yeah,
no,
are those a little too much for you?
I think for me, and especially on my channel, the big point is, like, well, tends to be just how easy it would be to follow.
Mm.
Like I want, but I also want a point where it's easy enough for someone to jump in and latch on,
Ah, okay. So
and not without, without being overwhelmed at the start, or feeling like you have to do your homework first.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, and it's probably better for the first time chatters too, because they can kind of
Mhm.
join in and go along with the flow without having to, as you said, you know, go back and download everything that was involved with the world to start with. Um, have you started a game thinking that you'd get that kind of experience, and then kind of said, "Nah, it's not for me."
Hmm. Can't think of too many off the top of my head. I've been very selective about what I think I should have on stream
Yeah.
and what would be a mainstay, if anything.
Mm.
I think there might have been one or two where I did a demo and I completed the demo, and at the end of it, I'm like, okay, I can see how people would very much enjoy this game. Not my kind of thing,
Ah,
but I sit there and kind of criticize it for a little bit,
yeah,
give the good points, bad points, or the things that I was frustrated with, and
yeah,
just say, yeah, no,
yeah.
if this seems like something you want to do, go ahead, give it a look at.
Well, I mean that's
I will
fair.
not be revisiting it.
That's a very fair way to do it because a lot of people would
Mhm,
simply just say, "Oh, it's a terrible game, don't play it," and
mhm, mhm,
not give a reason. I talk about this with movies too. I use this for an example. My stepdaughter and I went to see Transformers 2 we didn't go to see Transformers 2 to watch Shakespeare. We went to watch, you know, robots get blown up. That's what,
Hmm.
and we did, and it was fun. And that's what we. If we'd have gone there to be you know, Siskel and Ebert sitting there, we wouldn't have enjoyed ourselves
Hmm.
nearly as much. And you know, if it's just it depends on what you're wanting. If you want something simple, find a simple game that you enjoy. Um, if you want something that's you know, is beyond the text. Do you remember? Speaking of going back to the tabletop games a little bit, are I'm not asking your age or anything, but do you remember the old Avalon Hill tabletop games?
Ooh,
Have you seen them?
probably not by company.
Yeah.
What would be some of the names of their games?
Well, a lot of them were mostly war based,
Hmm.
and like World War II, World War One type things. But they were bookshelf games. That they called them bookshelf games because
Hmm.
when you put all the pieces back together, it would sit on a bookshelf really nicely. But the problem would be with those is even if you were a World War II fanatic, the putting all the pieces together and on the board, by the time you got it done, it was time to go to bed.
Which reminds me of a comment someone made in a like Warhammer 40K stream, and it's like 3 hours to set up only to get my ass kicked in 30 minutes.
Yep. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes,
Uh,
you know, I understand and I appreciate them getting to wanting to make the experience as real as possible, but boy, get to it.
mhm, mhm.
Uh, you can't make it that intense just to get into the
Mhm,
situation. It,
mhm.
it has to be friendly. Is that what
Yeah.
you're kind of looking for? Is friendly ways to get into the worlds you're looking at?
Yeah. There is that. There's also the fact that since the big reason why I focus on lore first a lot of times is that I also feel that there should be other ways to interact with these worlds other than what is already prepackaged for you.
Ah, ah,
Like, and this mostly came from the fact that, or maybe not prepackaged, but rather what is initially, handed to you. Like,
right.
and I think this mostly came from a time back when I think EVE Online, I was
Oh,
like, okay, this seems like an interesting concept, but I'm not too sure about how I would want to, like, actually being involved in this particular MMO. And then they talked about a spin-off game that takes place in the same universe. I think like Dust something of other. Like I looked at a few numbers, like, and I was like, huh. Well, I'm not the greatest at FPSs, but it's definitely more my bag than the spreadsheet thing that Eve Online was at the time.
yes. Yeah, yeah.
And I was
Uh,
like, that I felt like, okay, maybe I can actually interact with this world in that manner and get to be involved with friends who were into that kind of thing. And
yeah,
I kind of started to apply that to some of the other things that I've been doing,
yeah.
where it's like, yeah, I like this world, but not necessarily the system attached to it or the
Mm.
manner in which, or, I read a book and I'm like, gosh, I so want to play in this world kind of thing.
But there's no game. Where's the game?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
I think that a number of people out there also enjoy that kind of thing as well. Like, especially with D&D alone, you've seen a lot of things, probably seen a lot of things where it's like, hey, let's put, you know, let's create a rule set with D&D to actually allow you to play in this world kind of thing. Though sometimes it gets frustrating.
yeah,
Like when someone was like, hey, let's make a cyberpunk character in D&D. And D. And it's like, you need to do that.
yeah.
This, the, like,
It doesn't fit
like,
anything.
cyber, like, no. The thing is that cyberpunk edge runners, like in particular, is what we're talking about here,
Yeah,
is based off of a tabletop game anyway.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a
It
ah,
has a system,
yeah. Well,
but I can, yeah.
when I started playing D&D, it was 100 million years ago, and
Mhm,
it was one book. I mean, of course,
mhm,
now it's an encyclopedia, but it was one book by then, and we had plenty of fun with it, and it's of course
mhm.
you got everybody's got to admit it is the the great 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 granddaddy of all RPGs and that type of thing, is the tabletop game. Um,
Mhm.
but we also had for my old Commodore 64, we had the gold box games that were very.
Mm.
We were able to do like 6 character parties that went through the gold box game, and it was as true as you possibly could get to.
Yeah, from SSI.
Yeah, SSI, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. I
And
actually talked about them on stream once,
oh,
and I brought up a very wonderful YouTuber that talks about this kind of stuff as well.
yeah, oh yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and I played it over and over again because you can keep using your same. If you even if you got up to max character, you can go back and start over again. And now that you knew all the secrets, you could get to it very quickly. But um,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, the limits of a Commodore 64 at the time. But even then, they were trying to expand it a little bit. I remember SSI came up with a Buck Rogers game
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
had the exact same type of engine. Of course, different weapons and things, but you rolled a character and you had certain positive points, and they were always trying to work off of it a little bit then. So even back in the 80s, they were working on this type of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how well it worked. I mean, it was a fun game. It really wasn't quite the
Yeah.
same, but it was it. I guess I'm an old school type in just about everything as far as that goes. Um, Now, what about a game like the Fallout series? Is that something you'd be interested in?
Well, I grew up with like the original Fallout's. It's
Yes.
like I also played Baldur's Gate when it first came out. It's like
Mhm.
I played a fair number of RPGs from back then. Not some of the really old ones, but hmm, I think I might have been a little too young for that. But I was basically on the I basically got involved in the era where things started to shift in what RPGs were,
Hmm.
going to be, and kind of how do I say it, were defined by them for quite some time,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
for good and ill.
Yeah. Yeah. And those
I think
old.
the one that impressed on me the most was what is it? Uh, gosh, Arcanum. That was it. It's like
Canaan. Okay, what?
of Steamworks and Magic Obscura.
Oh, okay. Oh, kind of a steampunk and magic type thing.
It basically is a fantasy world in the midst of industrial revolution,
Okay.
and we're talking like the full breadth of it, even the incredibly shitty parts of it.
And it was.
Yeah,
I
it
remember.
it absolutely was.
Yeah.
There is some stuff that they're just like yikes, but kind
Yeah.
of in a they tried to cleave, as close as they could to the matters at hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Not everything that came out of the original of that particular time period was good. uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like, to be fair, I always felt that with that particular game, it was thought provoking,
Yeah.
and very much had an interesting take on a sort of magic versus science thing instead of allowing them to actually be usable together. It very much was the whole thing of like, yeah, science works on natural law,
Right.
and magic works on the abuse of magic law, or the ignoring natural law.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for the most part, the two cannot be too close together, especially when some things are more advanced in that or the other. And I think the example I remember someone once saying was like, say you want to cast a fireball, and as a consequence of using fireball, in order to make it happen in nature, you have to change the way friction works. I was like,
Mm.
okay, that's fine if you're in the middle of the woods. But say you're on a train and you just want to light something up, and then you learn very quickly how friction is important to a train functioning.
Yes. Yes. You start taking. It
Yeah.
sounds like they take like the relativity into account,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's almost like Full Metal Alchemist, I guess, from what I understand, where you can you can
Kind
you
of.
can cast something, but it costs something somewhere else to do. It's
In a sense, yeah.
yeah.
But whereas with Metal Alchemist, it very much was, you have to have the, all the materials to make it happen. You can't
Mhm.
make something for nothing.
Yeah.
With this, it very much is a case of, if you want something impossible to happen, you have to suspend a natural law somewhere
Yeah.
or change a natural law. And and it's going to affect more than just your immediate case use. It is going to affect an area. And the more
Mm,
powerful you are, the more the area is going to affect, and sometimes even just passively for existing.
mm. Oh well, I mean that makes
Get,
sense, doesn't
yeah.
it? I mean, it's when they hook on to something like that and add the science to it. That is very interesting to me because it,
And there was also other similar arguments of like, so what is better, magic or technology? And it comes down, and I know another person who basically came down and said, well, it largely kind of depends on how, like, egalitarian or perhaps how racist or classist even magic is. Like, can anyone learn it, or is it just chosen people or,
yeah,
species that are capable of doing it? If
yeah,
so, magic tends to be, or not, magic probably is not the answer here because technology is something that anyone can get access to.
right. If
But should people have, anyone have access to it? And there's a back and forth on that.
oh yeah,
And,
because
it's
you
one
don't
of those
necessarily
things, again.
yeah you don't necessarily want
Yeah.
everybody to have that type of power, and
Mhm.
and
But at the same time, you want to improve people's lives, and then it becomes a whole thing of like, so how do we get to that when we have these options that
yeah,
both seem very useful and yet also very damning?
yes, and dangerous in some
Mhm.
instances. Yeah, it's cool. It really does.
But yeah, yeah,
I don't, with that that in depth that you take a look at these things in, are you going to put together a game of your own?
technically speaking, yes. Like, this is half of my own design and half basing it in a world that already exists.
Okay.
Because when I first started this whole channel, I kind of wanted to hop around between systems and worlds and whatnot, and I had an idea of just being strictly a PNG tuber
Hmm.
before I got my live 2D model.
Hmm.
And I was going to basically, I thought, if I get enough, momentum and cash flow and whatnot, I could hire different artists to create different versions of myself that would be representative of the world I'm talking about that day. But my mistake was starting with Pathfinder,
Oh,
which at the time was, still picking up speed with, second edition.
right, right.
And they just started throwing out book after book, like every 3 months or so. And I was like, okay, well, something new just came out here, and this one is a lore book. Let's sit down and look at this one.
Yeah.
And ooh, it's almost a full-time job just to keep up with that.
Yes.
I still have a bit of trauma from reading the book on Absalom. It is a single city, but it is also the most important city. And I spent probably 4 months talking about this place alone.
Whoa. Gee,
Just like,
Christmas.
there's so much.
Yeah, and something
Uh,
that is that deep, and I imagine wide at the same time,
yeah, yeah,
um, is not only tough to consume, but then you have the idea to add on to it. I would have such a um, feeling of inability to do it. I mean, I
yeah.
can't, I couldn't do it justice.
You would think that, but this kind of stuff always has wiggle room for you to
Yeah.
work with because, again, it's meant to be played, it's meant to be interacted with, and to be changed. It is the entire purpose is to change it.
Mm,
There's a world that has problems, that has threats, that has things that are breaking down or threatening people, and the entire point of you interacting with this is to change that.
mm.
is to build on this, to add your own lore to the whole thing. Like, not everything is quite explained to you, but just enough is given to you for you to actually stop and be like, okay, why is that? And how can we,
okay,
interact with that?
So
how do we improve on it? How do we get rid of it? That kind of thing.
It gives you some cues to work off.
It gives you a lot of cues.
Yeah,
and that brings to what I have been working on for a little bit here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when it's going to happen. I probably will be running other things before then, but there is an option in Pathfinder, like more for players, that is called the Starlit Sentinel. This is basically your transforming hero from like anime. It's like the magical girls, the common riders, the Super Sentai, that kind of stuff. It's like,
yeah. So you're going to be working off that?
I was like, okay, that's a really cool option.
Mm-hmm.
And I would very much like to try it. And I stopped and I was like, well, what if I could get an entire party in on this? Because it's one of those things that, hey, there can only be 12 of them in the world at a time. But they're already established an idea that there is a particular city that has 4 operating in it already. And they're well known within the city. And they have basically created this idea unintentionally that all Starlit Sentinels have to be girls. Because it's a team of 4 girls.
Okay.
That is not true. The constellations do not care what gender you are. Mm-hmm. But that is the belief in this particular city because of them. Okay. At least the popular belief.
Okay.
And I wanted to create a story where those 4 go missing. And now a new 4 step up. It's like to both, pick up where they left off and to figure out what happened to them.
All right. I'm not going to ask you to tell me what happened to them because you don't want to spoil anything, but
the thing is that I did have to work backwards from what is the big bad and then trickle down from there. Like, what is the response to all of this? Like, what are they doing? What does that lead to? And so on and so forth, down to the, what do you call it? Down to the street level, where the players are going to have to more or less start.
So you have the finish in your mind and you're working backwards from that.
Yeah. Now, of course, that's not to say that things from there can cascade back up again for changes that need to happen. It has happened a few times, and it's been an interesting design challenge because I have to not only work within. Well, I'm determined to work within the framework of Pathfinder because it's like, hey, they gave me the option. I want to see how well it goes.
Right. Yeah.
like how much thought they put into this because for the most part, Pathfinder 2nd Edition has been very robust with its systems. It has its pitfalls here and there, but for the most part, it tends to run smooth.
Now, I got to ask you this. Yeah. Have you always been the creative type?
I have always been an idea person, I would say at the most. I have struggled with, outputting that creativity, but I've always had thoughts where I'm like, okay, what if this, what if that, and whatnot. I think the most that I have been able to put out with my creativity was a time that I got involved in a homebrew game from a friend, and they were basically decided some post-apocalyptic tribal, game of sorts.
Right.
With, using, first edition Pathfinder for it. And I played a character that was an outsider to the whole thing, but was also very curious about the way that magic worked. For the particular tribe in general, they had a particular view on magic and just ran with it. But my character kept wanting to break it down, try to figure out how did it work, why did it work this way, why is my magic different from yours, that kind of thing.
Right.
And this culminated into a whole scheme that I ended up, having that resulted in me stealing a god from a cult.
That escalated.
And I was so and this was from a lot of back and forth with the GM about how they both the groundwork of what their magic is and what and my poking around so if I were to do this and that, how would that affect things?
Yeah. So you
And it was exhilarating to say the least
well,
when I
yeah,
actually pulled it off.
yeah. When you finally get that, whether it's on paper or however you do it, you
Mhm,
have that down in front of you, and like that's exactly what I wanted. Maybe even more than what I wanted.
mhm,
Um, that type of satisfaction must have really hit you big when you finally had something that in your pocket.
mhm. Like the first time I had a personal storyline and plan, and I actually got to see it through to the end, rather than just being, I'm here, I punched in, it's like I'm doing my duty kind of,
Yeah,
character. It's like,
yeah,
which, hey, sometimes a party needs that. It's like someone who's stable, reliable, that looks like they've had a day job for once in their life.
yes, yes, and the ones that get killed off first.
Sometimes they get killed off. Sometimes they're the ones that keep the party together or
Yeah,
be the glue or just, that kind of thing.
yeah, absolutely. And it really sounds like that. You know, you've had that type of talent inside you
Mm.
for a while, and you're getting the chance
Yeah.
now to not only from the VTuber format, but from other formats as well. You're getting to finally let the bird out of the cage here.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
i- when you were younger, were you just frustrated with that? Were you able to share that talent with anybody?
Uh, I will definitely say that it was a frustrating matter,
Mm,
and mostly because I had particular, um, how could I put it? I'd say mental disabilities. I was
hmm
like I grew up with ADHD, but
hmm
I still struggle with ADHD, and I'm only now recently suspecting I have autism as well,
Yeah, yeah, and
which a number of people I know have been like, "So you didn't know that?"
put up a mirror. Here you go.
Yeah,
Take a
but
look.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
So I had a fair number of struggles. Like I will tell you right now that I like literature in high school, like literature classes.
yeah,
It was a constant thing of the teachers recognizing that I understood the material, but getting me to show that I understood it was like pulling teeth.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
And there,
have been times where, I would actively try to do something creative and have probably someone say something disparaging about, my efforts and whatnot.
hmm and right back into the shit.
And that's, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It kind of discouraged me for a time on actually attempting to, apply things that I had learned. It's like,
oh yeah, yeah. It's like okay, I'll just keep it to myself then, and if you don't want to see, so how did you get over that? I mean, was the process of just
honest,
getting something down, or I mean, that's a lot of anti confidence that you get built up over the
yeah,
years.
honestly, it, I'd say two big things in my for all of this. Like, one was just, well, my introduction into tabletop.
hmm Yeah.
Like being involved in the tabletop hobby as a whole has, helps me slowly, pull out my creativity. For the longest time, however, it was on the player end of things where I have to sit there and be like, okay, how do I handle this? And initially it was within the framework of the system, and then eventually it became a thing of, okay, I want to try something off, what was out of the box here,
Yeah.
and I want to see how the system can handle that, like or especially how the GM can interpret the rules to handle that.
But sooner or
And
later you got to tweak the GMs. I
yeah,
mean
yeah,
that's required.
and I eventually, started learning more things, so to speak. And it's one of those things that constantly happen when you're either a novelist or a GM,
Yeah.
where
Oh
you have to be like, okay, so I need to understand the
yes.
effects of what happens to a person when they get run over by a carriage or something like
Yes.
that.
Yes. And that's when if it was the old
uh,
old dungeon master days, they just constantly roll dice while they were trying to make something up in their head.
yeah.
Well, rolling dice. Uh, the Did
As for the other matter,
yeah.
I think it was VTubing that also was the crux of creative development for me at the time,
Uh,
because that was a point where like I knew nothing about how to do any of this.
mm-hmm.
I had people and resources. I recognized that before I started.
Right.
And one of my closest artist friends, who I did pay for this, helped me set me up with a PNG tuber, like avatar.
Right. Yeah.
And I was thankfully it was also a case of they wanted to see if this was a feasible thing for them to offer to other people. And like what kind of price range they would do it. And so I was a test bed for that. The end result was no, I can't do that for, for a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
But
it is work, a lot of work to
Mhm.
do it that, and especially if you're somebody who is obsessed. You get artists, and I'm sure that you've seen them, or they're never finished with something, and
Mhm,
and
mhm.
and it's tough to give up that sort of thing. Are you that way when you're creating or creating lore or around something else? Are you ever finished with your story, or do you
That
want?
is an interesting question,
Yeah.
and to which I typically say yes and no.
Ah,
And for the most part, I always do plenty enough research to create a character, but I never consider a character done because if they're going to be involved in a story, then their development is ever evolving, to say the least.
yeah.
That there will be new things that pop up that will affect how, who they are, what they become, that kind of thing. And sometimes a new lore book comes out and I would read something and I'm like, dang it. Now that can't be true anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Or maybe this person was misinformed.
yes. Yes. And maybe it happens here, but not there.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's a that's a little bit. I was going to
Hmm.
ask you about that because,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, you're working in that particular game world, and all of a sudden they start producing a lot of things that go with it. That's kind of automatically canon, and you've got to adjust yours to
Hmm.
match theirs.
Yeah. Yeah. The big thing though is with this kind of stuff is that your table is your table.
Hmm.
The way the world operates is unique to your table, and you can't get caught up on what official lore comes out at the time. Like, okay, that's nice and all, but currently we're running with this idea, so we can safely ignore that.
Yeah. Yeah. It says we.
This is one of because this is one of those hobbies where, and well, also one of these worlds and systems where, sure, we're given a lot of stuff, but we can safely set aside the stuff we do not need,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's not
as
one of those.
opposed to how D&D has been lately, where it's like, okay, we're giving you bare minimum of what you need to know,
And
and it is up to you to supply everything else.
well, that's
Which
good and bad,
can be,
for some
yeah,
people.
that's good and bad,
Yeah.
and that leaves things a lot open for a lot of GMs and players. But it also does things like it encourages a lot of work on the GM as well as the players, and sometimes even the GM, to ignore the book because what does it know? Like it's not giving us much of anything. Why should we, pay attention to that now?
Right. Right. But it does kind of give it a general
Yeah,
skeleton to work
yeah,
off of, anyway. I mean,
it does. It does.
yeah. Well, I mean, the original D&D was pretty much like that. I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of the games
Not,
we participated back then, way in the early,
yeah,
there was a lot of additions to it. Um,
yeah,
just
yeah. Not to knock on it too hard, like, because I have played my fair amount of D&D, and shoot, if I had a bunch of friends that I really liked playing with that wanted to be involved in a 4E, 5E, whatever edition of D&D, I'd be down to play. It's like,
yeah,
my
yeah,
only exception is like Pathfinder First Edition, because maybe getting also too deep into like D&D Third Edition, like, or 3.5, it's like somewhere around there, because that that is getting into
I heard it was.
that is a little too clumsy for me at this point.
Yeah.
Like I've handled more streamlined systems at this point, and it's hard for me to get back into the mindset for those particular editions.
Yeah. From what I told, there's a lot of math.
Hmm.
It's like, well, if this happens and this happens and this happens, then you
Well,
use this
it's
formula, and then it.
it, yeah, and it's gosh, I remember first edition Pathfinder and being like, okay, so same bonuses of the same type do not stack, but from different types do. And I sit there and spend like a week being like, okay, so I can get a luck bonus from here,
Yeah.
a status bonus from here, like an untyped bonus here, like
Yeah.
so on and so forth. And it's like, okay, so now I have a plus 16 to this attack for like 3 turns.
Yes, and only for this particular type of
Hmm.
person, the thing that you're fighting, but nothing else.
Hmm. Hmm.
If,
Hmm.
and only it's very specific, but I have it. It's there.
Yeah.
It's show up.
And that is also another reason why I don't delve too much into mechanics with a lot of the games,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
because I there are some stuff that's there are people out there that have mastered systems far better than I.
yeah. That's a
And
difference.
there are plenty of them out there and already have conversations about it
Yeah,
that are easy to find and see.
yeah,
So I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that's great and all,
yeah,
but I also want to provide. So I decided to provide people, context for the characters, where they are, what kind of people they can be. It's like,
mm. So, what now
uh,
are you wanting to do with your channel? Have you set goals differently than when you started? Are you still working on the same goals? What is next for you?
well, like, honestly, I have been working on getting some stability.
Mm.
Like my schedule has always been a little all over the place. When I first started, I was like Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to like 4 p.m., like 4 or 5 p.m. I was treating it like an actual job.
Yeah.
And then I had some friends that looked at me and were like, no, cut back on that. You're an idiot, girl.
Because your vocal cords
And
got
so I kept,
nodes upon nodes after that.
oh my, you'd be surprised how long I can go for. Like, honestly, like, I do have, gosh, there was a time that I would have celebrations that lasted a week long, and I would do, every day 12 hours of streaming.
Oh my gosh. Ah.
And I would not be winded, and I would always tell people I go to sleep with more spell slots than most people wake up with.
There's only a certain percentage of people that understand what you're talking about.
Yes.
But that's your audience. That you want them to know.
Mhm.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean,
As that's basically how where most of my energy comes from.
yeah,
Largely because it's like I really enjoy doing this. But yeah, my
yeah,
schedule has always been a little all over the place.
yeah,
And recent like life has basically put me in a position where I am out of town for a number of days, like every week.
yeah,
So
yeah,
generally speaking, looking for a bit of stability, uh, and then also wanting to actually run uh, games on my channel, like because before it's up to this point, it's been pretty much, hey, let's poke out a video game or two, and also, but main staple is we're going to sit here and talk lore, and occasionally, look at systems.
yeah,
There was a time that I did bargain bin Fridays, where it's like, okay, so you know how D&D is costs like up to 160 for the 3 basic books to
right,
to run a game,
right,
and like $60 for just the player's guide.
right.
But this doesn't have to be your jumping on point, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. And that's largely because I like was a little inspired by the fact that Pathfinder puts all of its rules online for free. It's like the only thing you're really paying is art and lore.
Yeah, yeah. And the only thing I would think problem would be copyrights. Get around copyrights, but If you can get those, and, I could talk with you for a long.
Yeah.
You're very easy to talk with, and especially it's very easy to know when you're into a subject because
Yeah.
I mean it seems like it kind of envelops you and
Mhm.
you expand yourself to fill the topic, which is a pretty
Mhm.
amazing skill, and it's very easy to tell that you're a
Mhm.
very creative person, and I
Mhm.
hope that you get to enjoy that and continue enjoying that as a VTuber.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
need more people that can share that kind of creativity with everybody, and we need to support folks like yourself, and because otherwise, how do we move forward without some visions? Um, and
Mhm.
you're providing that. I'm glad you're getting this opportunity. We're going to have links for Runia here in the description for the interview. Thank you so much for coming on, and I hope we can do it again
Mm.
sometime soon.
Certainly. I would love to be here again.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.